Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Leadership Conversation series that I have been doing with quite a few leaders. Wow, today I am excited and so honored to be joined by Mr. Sylvain Roy, who is the president and CEO of CNFA, which stands for Cultivating New Frontiers in Agriculture. They have an office here and also the one in Europe. Just to check in, how are you doing?
Very good, Joy. It's a great pleasure meeting you today and to have this conversation with you.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited. So I'm just going to start with some introductions. My name is Joyce Weru. Of course, I am the executive leadership coach at Rise Above Coaching. And today, of course, I said I'm joined with the president and CEO of uh, CNFA. He is an agribusiness specialist with more than 35 years of expertise in agriculture, which I love, business and international development. Throughout his career, he has worked to advance the rights and livelihoods of farmers and workers too, and not only here. I mean around the world, by the way. And Mr. Sullivan, I love your story because he took his first agriculture leadership position as a young sheep farmer. And I cannot wait to hear that story. In his native Canada is Quebec sheep, and maybe I might be saying that wrong. He began his international development career moving to Africa. And maybe I'm not surprised because I know Canada is pretty cold. and I and I know that transition might have been a big change, but he moved to Africa to oversee various development projects aimed at lifting rural populations out of poverty. And he's been in Cameroon, Mali, Togo, Kosovo. In 2009, which I'm not going to date you so much, he joined CNFA as the vice president of programs, promoted to the executive vice president, and then he became the 35-year-old organization's second ever president and CEO, which is, I think, just remarkable and very inspiring. Um, he leads and coaches a team of more than 70 employees, and I love the fact that you talk about coaching as well, not just leading and coaching go so hand in hand. So that really captivated, when I was reading about you. More than 70 employees here in the Washington, D.C. headquarters, more than 490 employees worldwide, with over 21 countries, in more than 21 countries worldwide. He has his MBA with a specialization in agribusiness from Laval University in Canada. And this is the fun part. He is an endurance sportsman with 20 marathons. And we have to talk about that. And triathlon, Ironman. He lives with his family in a small farm in Maryland where I live, which is great. And really, after I read that, this is the reason why I have been doing this leadership conversations with leaders, especially in the NGO, international NGO, who go around the world. When you could read a story like that is so authentic and really shows not only the strategic part, but who you are as a person. So maybe you could begin by telling us a little bit about CNFA, and welcome. I'm very excited.
But thank you very much, Joy. It's a great pleasure for being with you today and to talk a little bit about my leadership vision and leadership skills, and also a little bit about CNFA. So CNFA is a non-profit organization, and we are specialized in agriculture and agribusiness. And so our main market is mostly in Africa, but we also have projects in South Asia and Eastern Europe and in the Caucasus as well. So basically what we do, we implement projects funded by donors, and our main client is the US government,
Mhm.
and particularly USAID, USDA, and also MCC. And recently, 4 years ago, in order to extend, to scale up our impact worldwide,
Mhm.
we opened a branch in Europe, as you said, and it's headquartered in Brussels. And so we work with a range of European clients, such as the German GIZ, and others.
Wow, wow, wow. That is, agriculture is, I mean, it's so big, it's so important. I've been so curious to have this conversation a little bit to talk about, with everything that's going on, with the impact of COVID, with the Black Lives Matter. I think as a coach, one thing I have acknowledged is, how organizations right now are being faced with this volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous situations, especially in one year, in the last 6 months. Um, so, what has some of the lessons been for you during some of these most monumental events?
Yeah, it was very difficult for us at the beginning
Mm-hmm.
because we didn't know what to think. And I remember when the crisis management team at CNFA
Mm-hmm.
suggested that we should move to full-time teleworking. Was not very excited with this perspective, and but very quickly people were able to adapt. Fortunately, we over the last few years we developed a teleworking policy at CNFA,
Oh, wow.
allowing people to work from home, and so people was used to do that. So overnight was an easy switch, and I thought that we will all be back to our office within 2 or 3 weeks, and everything will be over. And
Mm-hmm.
this was at the beginning of April. But the biggest lessons learned is uh, basically to when there is a crisis such as the one we are experimenting now. So imagine the worst and try to adapt. And as leaders, so we have very important roles to do. And it's important to be transparent with our employees. We call our employees our people.
Yes,
I don't I
yes.
don't like to use staff or things like that. They are so important. They are the main asset of our organization, basically. So I organize a series of communication with our people, to communicate with them, to tell them basically what we knew at that time, try to continue motivating them, and also to suggest them to innovate. So because after week, when we realized that no, we'll not be back to our office tomorrow, so innovation was absolutely key. How to continue to perform our work with the same level of performance, helping farmers around the world, why we cannot travel and why we are not together in DC. We are working separately from our home office, yeah, and not only here in the United States, but also in our 21 country of operation. So communication was the main lesson learned. With the board as well, our board was very concerned about the situation in Africa,
Mm-hmm.
because, as you know, the health system in Africa is not at the same level than here.
Yeah.
So we imagine that if there is a deterioration with COVID in Africa, what will be the impact? But we were so fortunate that Africa is still relatively okay with COVID, with some pocket here and there in different countries, but generally speaking, in relatively okay condition.
Yeah, yeah, and it's been amazing because I've been following the situation like around Africa, and they have been very resilient. And I mean, and you've worked in those countries and actually been there, and it just elevates the power of resilience, right, in those countries, and the reason why you all do the work that you all do down there. And one of the things what CNFA does, and I mean even actually not even just CNFA, um, just your passion with agriculture, because you've done it. I mean, you live in a farm right now, and one of your vision is actually a prosperous world without hunger. And when COVID hit, I remember even trying to go to the grocery store to get chicken or something, and you could only buy one pack. And we saw so many lines with food banks, and even people today are still, there's still a lot of people who have that need for food and agriculture, and the US might not be as advanced in terms of farming. And I mean, they are some places, but not as, it's not as big because they import a lot of things. So what has that impact been for you, especially since this is something you've kind of almost cultivated since a very young age?
No, you're absolutely right, and once again, it's a good way to understand that the food system is very complex. And when you have a break somewhere within the food chain, but
Mhm.
you can affect accessibility of food worldwide. And we observe that here in the United States. You're absolutely right. Eggs is a good example, but the food processing plants are obliged to close because COVID infection
Mhm.
was also not a very scary part of this pandemic, and it was exactly the same situation in Africa as well. And I have to say that I'm so happy with the fact that last week the
Mhm.
the Nobel Peace Prize was awarded to the World Food Program, and this is a good example that food is so crucial for peace. And when people are hungry, it's the perfect weapon for war, for conflict, for global safety. So I think that when we said, okay, we at CNFA we are specialized in agriculture, but we are specialized in peacekeeping.
Yeah.
Basically, is exactly that. Because when you empower people, women, the youth, for instance, to involve in agriculture, you help creating a better future for them. You develop a vision for them to stay on their farm, to improve their productivity, to improve the level of their livelihood, and therefore affecting the entire quality of their life.
Wow, wow. That is some great insight. I never thought about that, what it means if people don't have food. And I mean, and I think realistically you did see that. People were like waiting for hours and hours in lines. And I love the correlation between that and peacekeeping, which is and like you're just saying, even, flourishing because of that, right? We eat, we flourish, but also that, like, you could feed the whole nation with something like that, and it
Absolutely.
affects so many things. Wow, that is that is really, really impactful. And one of the things that I love that you said is, obviously, like, even saying how you don't like to call employees employees, you call people their people, right? You look at everyone as just a being, right?
Exactly.
And even for you all, being adaptable and being innovative, what must leaders do at this time? What do you think is so critical for leaders to be doing at this time? And I know you mentioned communication.
Communication and transparency, it's absolutely crucial. And for us at CNFA,
Mm-hmm.
with our executive team, we are very focused on maintaining a high level of people happiness, professional happiness. It's crucial for us. And we try permanently to measure the morale of our people before COVID, during COVID, and what we observe with COVID, for instance, because it's still very fresh in our memory. At the beginning of the crisis, the morale was relatively good. I will say between good and excellent. And then after a month or two, I remember, so particularly in June, July, the
Mm-hmm.
morale declined. People were very concerned about one very important thing, their job.
Mm-hmm.
And so we organized a series of general employee meetings throughout summer, every other week. And we offered them to prepare their question in advance. And most of the case, I worry about my job. Are you planning to do follow-up? Are you planning to do something with my job. I have mortgages, and loan and things like that. I have people, I have kids. And at the beginning, so we were there as leaders and hesitating a little bit because we didn't know. But very quickly, we were able to return to our financial and being able to say, yeah, we will commit ourselves to secure employment with CNFA. And this was absolutely crucial during the crisis. And I remember during a general meeting, I committed myself as the first leader of CNFA, don't worry with your job. And suddenly we saw a reverse in the moral curve going up back to the level of before the pandemic. And also communication with our board, communication with our donors, communication with our sub-implementing partners
Yeah.
is also very crucial.
Yeah.
And I'm just finishing up right now a tour of communication with all of our project leaders around the world. And so basically, what I did is organizing a 45-minute chat in the morning individually with them. Tell me the story. How do you feel? What is the status of your project implementation? Um, what is the morale of your people at the field level because they continue to go visiting farmers? And this is absolutely instrumental because when you think about that, when you are based in the field, and I was more than 10 years based in Africa, when you
Mm-hmm.
receive a phone call from the first leader of your organization, you realize that I count for something. The
Yeah.
first leader is willing to listen to me and take into consideration my concern or my suggestion and is able to remember what we discussed last time when we were together. This is so important. And one lesson also that I learned throughout my career, not only during COVID, during my leadership career, is to
Uh-huh.
be humble.
Yeah.
You have to listen what people has in mind. You have to stimulate them to talk, and you don't know everything. I definitively not me. And back to the farmers, for instance, I love meeting with farmers. They
Yes.
know much more than what you can imagine. They know a lot. And obviously, you have to question them. You have to stimulate the conversation, and then it's an equal conversation between you and people you are serving.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, wow, and that is, I mean, you said all the right things that we work with leaders on. The point of listening, and one point that you made is even asking them how you feel, and like, they do feel like they care. And that's the most important thing that most leaders can. And this is the reason why I was actually doing this, just to show people and how important it is. And then you are making these phone calls to these people in the field, different time zones. I know I'm sure sometimes you have to do it at 5 a.m. in the morning or maybe even later on in the evening, but you still accommodate that, because that's so important. And there's one point, and then you talked about humbleness, and one of the things that you said, one of the things for leaders is being able to um, be an example for people, right? And even for you, like, being in Canada, being in Africa, even having ran the marathons, that takes a lot of resilience. So what are some of the self-care things that you do as a leader to ensure that you have the capacity to show up for all these moving pieces that you have
Yeah.
to manage?
So as you say, Joy, so I live in Maryland. So our office in Washington, D.C. downtown.
Uh-huh.
And you know what this means. This means long commute. And it usually is more or less 3 hours per day for me. It's a choice I made to live on the farm and being able to be in Washington, D.C. downtown every day. So
Mm-hmm.
this means that I have to wake up very early in the morning, go to DC and back. But during the pandemic, so you stay home,
Yeah.
and but you know what I did? I maintained exactly the same routine.
Okay.
Wake up the same time in the morning, doing my little running outside. And at the executive team level as well, we forced us to have at least two executive meetings per week at 8:30 in the morning. Doesn't matter what is going on, we have this executive call, just checking with the team. Hey, what are the main elements that may affect our organization? What is the morale of the troop, and do we have issues? And then we discuss issues all together. This is leadership, I think,
Yes.
and this is very important to maintain this communication. Again, back to communication. I'm sorry if I repeat communication again. Is also crucial. You have in this routine to continue communicating with your people, and also all the stakeholders involving. So routine is important, and also personally, and this is a little anecdote, because I'm saving more or less 3 hours of my time every day without
Uh-huh.
commute. So
Uh-huh.
I use this opportunity to do some little personal project, home improvement, and a bicycle tour during summer. And you know, when you have a global event such as the COVID-19 event, there are always, obviously, it's a tragedy. Many people lost their life, as you know, but there are
Mhm.
also positive aspects of such an event. And this is very important to try very hard to identify what is positive in every single aspect of this situation, and try to amplify and to focus on that. One very positive impact of COVID, what we learned, is the fact that despite the fact that we have 500 employees worldwide,
Mhm.
we were able to maintain the level of productivity,
Yeah.
even improving the level of productivity. So this, to me, it's remarkable to do that. How it's possible? It's not only because the leaders are good or not good. It's because people are passionate about their work, and
Yes.
they are willing to continue every day. And this is absolutely remarkable. I have a lot of respect for our people to be able to motivate themselves. Some of them are at home with young children around them. Their spouse is there also teleworking. It's a new dynamic,
Yeah.
and being able to be resilient, being able to adapt, to cope with this situation is totally remarkable.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's very true. We maybe even myself, maybe I underestimated the passion that people have of getting up and being productive and every day. Not even, and like you just said, not productive, but also incorporating family and everything. And like you just said, there is some positiveness to this because people have, like you said, shown the level of resilience that people have and the joy too. Because yes, it was hard, but people are smiling now, a little bit more. And as we're coming to a close, and I think you made such a great point about um, passion, and I know one for you is running, right? And I know you like to run. And it feels, I think for some people, it feels like the world is in a race right now, with all that's going on. Like you get up in the morning, you're like, okay, what's going to happen today, right? And I know that we will all cross the finish line. It's only going to get better, from here, we hope, and that's just the piece of hope that we hold on to. So what do you think that picture would look like? You know,
At the finish line,
yeah,
the
if
the
you
the,
could
the,
imagine.
but the finish line of development is our ultimate goal. Huh? Obviously, our goal is not to stay there forever. It's
Yes.
when we are done with development. But unfortunately, it's not that much easy. This, particularly in Africa,
Hmm.
because COVID, millions of people are returning to poverty.
Yeah.
And this is a tragedy. This is something that we will need to address as we move forward. There is an estimation from the Gates Foundations that at least 34 million of people are living now within below the level of poverty with less than $2 per day. So when you say running a marathon, for instance, of doing endurance sport, it's like development. Basically, you need to develop your vision, and you have to persevere with this vision, and you have to empower people you are working with, the communities, the local cooperative of farmers, the food processors. You have to deal with them on the longest run possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I mean, and even when you mentioned, we cannot forget that this is going to also put people back, just because it was a huge impact on people, but I love that. As I love, this is what development is about. We sometimes you get knocked up and you rise up, and that's just how, we keep going. And I love that. So, I mean, one of my things, actually, I hope that it's on my bucket list to do a marathon, and maybe now that we have the time, I can train.
Why not?
Like you just said, I'm not spending an hour or half an hour, like 1.5 hours commuting, So, but this has been so great. This has been so great. I love your insights. I love the fact that you're so humble and even willing to come in and show people, hey, this is, as leaders, transparency, and you said communication is so key to leadership, and to prosperity. So I want to, as we're wrapping up, I really want to thank you for your time today. And
Thank you, Joyce. It was a great pleasure talking with you,
yes,
and congratulations for making this initiative. It's very important to you are leading by example. Thank you so
thank,
much for that.
you're welcome. You're welcome. And we hope we'll get to see each other. I know we live in Maryland, so
Absolutely. And when we are back to DC, you would be welcome to visit our office and our
yes.
people, and collaboration is so crucial in our type of work.
Yes, yes. So thank you,
You're
and
very welcome.
and enjoy the rest of your week.
Okay, thank
All right,
you. Bye
bye bye.
bye now.